Welcome to ASP Stuff Radio, the internet radio show that enjoys giving birth to new ideas, freeing your mind from all the poppycock that the mass media fabricates out of their gluteus maximus. We also talk about cats. For example, did you know that cats have over 20 muscles that control their ears? It's August 4th. I'm Aristalbert. Joining me today are two human chimeras, Socratevan and Platal. Thanks for being here, guys. It's been too long.
Yes, it's been a while. And this is NPR correspondent Steve Socrates.
I didn't know that about the cats.
Yeah, the cat. Isn't that a fascinating fact? Where else are you going to hear that cat fact? Nowhere. But ASP Stuff Radio.
I do notice that cats do move their ears a lot. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the 20 muscles that contribute to that particular movement.
Especially when they're listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Their ears are tuned in.
They try to turn inward so they don't hear as much about the depressing attacks.
They can control what comes in and what to ignore with their ears.
Speaking of cats, how about Matt Duffy?
Matt Duffy and his big fat cat named Skeeter.
See, you didn't know about Skeeter?
I didn't.
How could you not have known about Skeeter?
They never mentioned it at all.
Really? It was all over the place.
No.
That's all people talked about whenever they talked about Duffy. Was his fat cat.
The Coop and Kipe never mentioned the cat. Unless they refer to his cat as Skeeter, and I just didn't know.
Probably. He probably thought it was like his brother or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, and Skeeter and Duffy were hanging out together in the living room eating popcorn.
But is that a real picture of Skeeter?
Yeah, that is. Like, remember we went to the games last year, Steve Socrates?
Mm-hmm.
And after Duffy got a big hit a couple times, they would put on the scoreboard a picture of his cat, of Skeeter, and they'd be playing that song, This Is How We Do It.
Yeah.
That was really funny. Because you see this big fat cat singing the song.
Okay.
So it's an actual
That's part of the glory of Matt Duffy. That's what people liked.
The 30-pounder cat.
Yeah. It's like two Harry and Saul combined.
Yeah. You could stuff both of them in that one cat.
It's like half of Jessica.
So, does anybody know how he got so fat? What was his diet like?
An endless supply of Meow Mix and cat treats.
I think he ate all of Matt Duffy's food.
Because Duffy's a skinny guy.
Yeah.
Right? So it's probably just sharing too much.
So that's what they lost. They lost not just a great baseball player, but a fat cat.
So who would like to explain to our audience this loss? What happened? How come the Giants let go of one of their homegrown aces?
Well, this seemed like a combined deal of sorts, right? Wasn't there this master plan of getting rid of Duffy to get, and then getting Nunez so that they could get a couple pitchers?
All right, first we had to explain the backdrop.
Yeah.
There's a trading deadline that occurs every year during the season.
Right. And so a few days ago, they traded for Eduardo Nunez.
Is it Nunez or Nunez?
Nunez.
It's not Nunez.
Where's the accent? Where's the accent?
What do they call it? A tilde.
A tilde.
That's what it is. Tilde over the N.
So Nunez.
He plays pretty much every infield position except first base. So you're wondering where would that leave Matt Duffy when he came back?
Mm-hmm.
But what they told him, he would be playing third base.
Didn't Bobby Evans tell him?
Yeah, and Bruce Bochy too.
Okay, so they had got his hope. They made him feel like he was not going to be traded.
Well, I don't know if they did that, but they told him he would be playing third base whenever he came back, which he still hasn't come back from injury, but that was what was communicated. But I don't know. I still was a little worried that something might happen with either Duffy or Panic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little concern that they would trade one of them. So then, what was the trade after they made? They got a couple pitchers at the trade deadline on Monday.
Do you know how they got Nunez?
Nunez. They got him.
Nunez.
They traded him for a pitcher in the minors, Mejia, Alberto Mejia, I think.
Okay, so he's probably one of their top prospects.
Yeah, he's probably going to be the best prospect that was traded away out of all of them. Okay. Twins seem to like to steal the Giants' good pitching prospects.
How has that turned out for them?
Well, I remember in the past they traded Joe Nathan and Francisco Liriano for A.J. Pierzynski.
Yeah.
That was a bad trade.
Yeah. Yep.
It ended up hurting the Giants?
Completely. Because Pierzynski only lasted a year. And Nathan became an all-star pitcher, and Nathan's been one of the best closers for almost a decade. So there's some concern there, but not as much. I don't know. I think the Matt Duffy trade, there's two sides to it.
So let's talk about Duffy for a bit.
Yeah.
What has he accomplished last year? Rookie of the Year? Willie Mack Award?
Well, he was second in Rookie of the Year voting, which was really good because he was behind Rose Donuts lover Chris Bryant.
and he only played just about half a year. So he didn't play the full season.
And he definitely helped the Giants last year, late season.
Yeah, he was one of their best players, and everybody loved him. That's why he got that Willie Mack Award. He was just... That's what you were saying, is that he embodies like true Giants spirit, culture.
Yeah.
That winning mentality, hard-nosed, always hustling no matter what, and playing sound, fundamental baseball.
He also had a key double in a World Series game I actually was at in 2014.
Oh, the one where you smuggled in wine bottles?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, how could anyone forget that? Yeah, that was a big hit. They were down, 4-0, I think? 3-0?
3-0, yeah.
3-0, and nothing going on. And it was top of the fifth or middle of the game, and he led off with was it a double, I guess?
Yeah, it was a double down the right field line.
So, okay, and then the Giants even did their own short feature on Matt Duffy and his performance, his excellent baseball playing skills.
Yeah, with that narrator's voice.
That sounded like a robot. What was he?
Matt Duffy was one of the Giants' up-and-coming surprises.
On the baseball fields of Long Beach, California, young Matt Duffy began to dream.
Okay, so they hold him in high regard, and then they get rid of him.
Well, that's where we have to be careful. We can't just say they got rid of him, but yeah, I mean, it's a gamble.
Get out of here, Duffy. We don't love you anymore. Like I told Paul Lato, I think that move was dishonorable.
I don't know. I think we have to be careful with because the Giants love Duffy. I mean, I think if they could have had their way, they would have traded a prospect instead of Matt Duffy. But the Rays really wanted him. They actually wanted him before this year.
So you're bringing up they have to address what their problems are, right? So they probably have major issues with their bullpen, right? I mean, you could say, oh well, the bullpen wasn't really pitching well. Maybe had the bullpen been pitching a little bit better, they wouldn't be in this predicament, right?
So if Samardzija hasn't been having problems with his arm.
If Samardzija hadn't been giving up as many home runs,
or Casilla,
if Casilla didn't continue to have brain farts every other ninth inning,
and Romo's beard growing out of control.
Well, Romo was injured, so I don't know if he can control that. I guess there's a theory that beards prevent good pitches.
Yeah,
and then
weighs down your pitching motion.
Yeah, you got to trim it down, relieve the pressure on your arm.
creates a neck jowl as you're pitching.
So they had to. That sort of forced their hand because Samardzija struggling made them realize they're not going to be able to compete. Whether or not they get to the play, they have to get a pitcher, starting pitcher.
It's all the pitcher's fault then. That's why they lost Duffy.
You could put it that way. I mean, if the pitchers had stepped up, if you think about it, they were winning a lot of. They won a lot of games. They were on a record pace, and they would have been at an even record-breaking pace had some of those pitchers not kept blowing. The only games they lost towards the end of the first half were because of their bullpen screwing up.
Well, they got everything under control for the first half. Eventually.
It was tough, though, because Samardzija was struggling up toward the end of the first half. They were not getting much out of the fifth starter spot, so they were having to use their bullpen a lot. And so the bullpen was being overused, and they were giving up some leads that they should have been able to hold. Even though they weren't necessarily losing all those games, they were still having to. It was tougher for them to win than it would be if they had a better pitching.
And you could also look at it, it puts kind of like what you're alluding to, Paulito, it puts a lot of pressure on the offense and those reserve players, because eventually they're not going to, I mean, you'd like them to keep the pace up, but they can't always do that.
I think that's why the Giants that's why they traded for Nunez, I think, is because they knew, given the way that the trade market is right now, you have to give up a lot in order to get something back. Like, other teams are giving up so much really high rated prospects just for relief pitchers, which in the past you haven't had to give up much for relief pitching, but now you're having to give up so much. I think they knew they were going to have to give up someone from the major league roster, which they haven't had to do in a long time.
That was reminding me of, I don't know if this is how it was back then, but it seems now they go through a lot of pitchers, not just the Giants, but what I remember is you'd have a pitcher in the first inning until maybe the seventh inning, and then you have your relief pitcher.
Yeah, and that relief pitcher would pitch at least 2 innings.
2 innings.
It would never just pitch 1 inning.
Yeah.
The only pitcher that threw 1 inning was the closer. Right. That was it. Everybody else at least went 2. Now relief pitchers can barely get through 1 inning.
So you say back in the day, how far back was this day?
I don't know, since I can remember being a kid watching the Giants.
Back in the 90s.
90s, was it?
Back in the...
Even the early 2000s, they were doing that. They would leave guys out there and they give up a lot of... I think that's one of the reasons you see runs being scored going down.
Oh, maybe. Well, unless you're bringing in bullpen pitchers that are not reliable, because then you take out somebody that was pitching well. But we've seen that a lot, right? Where I'll feel like, I don't know if you guys, I'll feel like Bochy will take a guy out after he'd had a really good inning.
Yeah, like today they had Derek Law. Really good. He could have. You think, man, he could have easily pitched the 8th inning too. He got through the 7th so easily. Why doesn't he just go out there?
Spoiler alert!
I haven't seen the game yet.
Oh, sorry.
But what we'll do is we'll edit that part out.
No, it's too late now. Paul's tone made it sound like it wasn't a good game.
Okay, well let's keep going anyways.
But that brings up Matt Moore because he started today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where, hey, you have a weakness, right? Pitching's your weakness. So they acquire a relief pitcher, and then they're thinking, well, Samardzija's not doing that well. We're going to need another starter. And not just this year, but for the next few years. Mm-hmm. So how do you get that? You have to give up somebody really good that you really like.
And I bet you...
And you give up someone other than Matt Duffy.
No, I bet you what they did, they said, hey, we're going to give you Panic. We got Panic right here, waiting for you to go. And I bet you...
I don't know.
They said, no, we want Duffy. We've seen that. We've seen Skeeter. We want him.
We've seen his 30-pound cat. We want that cat.
But I say that, but you see that Duffy works hard. I mean, it's not to downplay Panic, but Duffy. You look at Duffy. He's he's a skinny kid. What can he do? But then you peel back the layers, and he works hard to.
He's a genius. He's a baseball genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Tampa Bay was well aware. I bet you they said that's all we want. It's Duffy or bust, and Giants make a tough decision.
I think other teams would probably want Panik ahead of Duffy, but the Giants weren't going to trade Joe Panik because he's too valuable at second base, where they don't have many other options. They anytime soon.
They like the Panik Crawford duo dynamic.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's worked out perfectly. Plus, they were the starting middle infield in the World Series, so you didn't want to break that up. So I'm sure other teams wanted Panik. I think there was even a rumor that the Yankees wanted Joe Panik, but the Giants didn't want to give up him. So they go to a team that was willing to take Matt Duffy. I'm sure they offered their prospects first, but they wanted to take Matt Duffy. Well, and you have to look at what you're getting back.
And so they got more.
They got a rapper from Bel Air.
Will Smith. I was like, what? Fresh Prince from Bel Air?
Well, that was the other trade, yeah. But for Matt Duffy, they got that starting pitcher, Matt Moore, who's a left-hander, who was an all-star 3 years ago. And the good thing is he'll be under contract for 3 more years after this.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing. He's not just a rental player. Like usually your trade deadline moves, you get them for a couple months, and that's it. Like last year, the Giants traded Adam Duvall to get Mike Leake.
Yeah, I remember Adam Duvall. So now he made it into the All-Star, but the Giants traded him. So maybe that kind of bit them in the butt.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those trades that you look back and I say, wish we kept Duvall. Yeah. Could use him in the outfield, and now Mike Leake's pitching for the Cardinals.
What's his name? Andrew Susac. Was he traded, or is he just injured?
He was traded for Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
I didn't realize that. So I thought they were trading Duffy for a couple players.
No, so Fresh Prince went to Milwaukee, and their top-rated pitching prospect for relief pitcher Will Smith. So that was a lot.
Wow. I like Duff.
Because the guy that the Brewers lost, the guy that looks like Dietrich.
Oh, yeah, Dietrich Zook.
Yep. They lost him, so they're looking for a catcher.
So who's the backup? Or is Trevor Brown now that he's been pretty reliable there.
Yeah, he's good. He's
some clutch hits.
A lot better defensively. Yeah. He's not going to hit as well as Susac eventually, but
plus Susac has those deep blue eyes. Pretty boy eyes.
You notice his dreamy eye?
9C. The droid robot.
The droid had a little robotic crush on Susac.
But I also think, like, if you compare Panik to Duffy, Panik's already proven. Duffy is sort of proven.
What?
But he's kind of not. What I'm saying, he's more on the up and coming. It's like just kind of in my text, he's as an investment.
Here we go.
He's a rule breaker, or what do you call it? Growth stock.
Are we going into finances now? Is this a segue to how to invest your money?
What I mean is he'll have another year or two, another good year or two when compared to Panik, because Panik already had that year. I mean, if we kind of say they're going to last about the same amount of time in their careers, Duffy has an extra year, right?
To go, but you mean before he becomes as reliable as Panik?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, he's missed more time, so
yeah, I think he has extra time, extra peak time.
Panik actually did make the All-Star team last year, where Duffy probably is another year or two away from making an All-Star team.
This is going to bite the Giants in the gluteus maximus.
I mean,
you don't know. It's a gamble.
I want to say he's going to probably lead the league in hitting next year.
I think it's going to be a good trade for both teams, really, because I think the Giants really they haven't had a good left-handed starter not named Bumgarner since, you could argue, Barry Zito, but probably more likely since Kirk Reeder.
What's up with his hair anyway? Or wait, I'm thinking of a Toy Story guy. What's his
Toy Story guy.
Woody.
Kirk Reeder, yeah.
That's him. Yeah, Kirk Reeder.
Yeah, that's Woody.
I just hear him by Woody.
But this guy obviously throws a lot harder, has more. You'll see. You just watch his start today.
All right. So there's some good and there's some bad.
A good trade is one where both teams win. It's not like a compromise, where a good compromise is both people are unhappy. A good trade is where both teams get productive players. And I think this is going to be one of those situations.
Okay. And do you think it's possible that the Giants might acquire Duffy later down in the road, or
they could at some point later on get him back?
But they'd have to give up a lot, especially if he's still good, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The good thing is Skeeter is not leaving the Bay Area.
He's gonna stick around.
He is not. He's
or wherever he lives. I think it's Southern California somewhere.
Well, he's not mobile.
Oh, they do. They live in San Francisco.
They really can't move. Even if they wanted to move him, they just can't.
You'd have to airlift him.
He's almost
crane lift.
And what's up with Puig? Nobody wants him. He ended up going down back to the minors.
Yeah, I guess he's been very inconsistent, or he still has a bad attitude. So they ship him off to Oklahoma City.
So that's hilarious.
Well, they traded for the A's
Reddick
outfielder.
Yeah, that must have been a blow for the A fans. And no more bum Puig confrontation. We're going to miss that.
Not for now. Probably he'll come up in September, which I don't know when they play him next.
Any other thoughts, comments, remarks, frustrations that you'd like to let out about this trade or the Giants in general?
I think it's just, it is a business. It sucks to lose someone as good as Matt Duffy, someone who was exactly what the Giants like. But I think it's going to be a good trade eventually. And they just have to be patient with Nunez at third, because he's going to take time to get used to playing there.
That's right. He used to play shortstop.
So it's going to be a little annoying at first.
Especially with critical errors. That was a painful game, real time.
Well, I don't know if he cost the game completely. Cueto gave up 2 home runs back-to-back, and then...
Yeah, they should have easily won that game.
Bochy did way too many pitching changes again. He went through, 3. Peavy was the last one.
Yeah, well...
So there's a lot that combined, but of course the error doesn't help.
No.
But you can't put that all on Nunez's shoulder.
No, it wasn't all the error. But,
again, he's a work in progress. He's trying to develop skills for third baseman.
It's just seeing that whole game, having that 4-0 lead. It was like 2 different games, right? Listen to the game, 4-0, it's in the bag. And then slowly but surely
Well, not with the fighting Phillies. You got to be careful.
Yeah, the Phillies playing tough.
Everybody plays tough. Everybody's
especially tough. The Phillies. I wouldn't be too worried about the Marlins as much. I think the Giants will be able to. Well, they have to go to Washington next, so that's not going to be easy either.
The Nats. Baseball's a business.
It's a business.
It's not just spirit.
Wolves of Wall Street.
Yeah. It's a tough game. It's a dog-eat-dog world, or as Woody Allen said, it's worse than that. It's dog doesn't return dog's phone call.
Wow. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. They don't even bother to eat you.
Just don't return your calls.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're past your 20 minutes.
Yeah, we went a little over.
What are you going to do?
Past my quota.
Uh-oh. So what are you going to do now, Paoleto?
I'm going to go eat.
All right.
Strengthen up, get rest for tomorrow, and get ready.
All right. Well, good luck delivering life into the universe tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Good luck.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Say hello to MBot. MBBot.
Enjoy delivering life into the universe.
All right. Bye.
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 Bye. Bye. Looks like Paul Lato had to take care of business. He's on assignment.
Maybe off to fly and do a Giants broadcast.
Yeah, possibly.
All right. So what's the topic?
What else do we got? Well, we got lots of stuff to cover.
We got brewing.
There are a couple main topics I wanted to discuss, all revolving around orange chicken face Donald Trump.
Okay.
In particular, his racism and his rapism.
Wait, he's a racist. We all know that.
We all know he's a racist, but not a lot of people know about his rapism background. But before we get into that, I wanted to, because we haven't done a show in almost a month, and a lot has gone on since then. So I wanted to maybe quickly do a wrap up of two things that I thought were very important, and maybe if you want, you can comment on them, because you are a stuff analyst.
I'm a professional stuff analyst.
You got your doctorate from ASP Stuff University.
We've had a couple lawsuits.
Yeah,
we've stolen people's money.
Wait, yeah, our ASP Stuff University.
Yeah.
If you want to enroll, talk to me. Send me an email.
Talk to us, please.
Right. Okay, so before the whole Republican Democratic convention, or during one of the terrorist attacks in France, the FBI director, James Comey,
yes.
He decided that Hillary Clinton should not face criminal charges over her use of private email servers when she was a Secretary of State, even though she was, as he quotes, extremely careless in handling classified top secret information. So I thought that was shocking, dropping these charges, serious charges. Because if this were me or you or any other average peon, what do you think would happen? I mean, do you think the FBI would say that we were simply being extremely careless and therefore we don't need to face criminal charges, despite the possible risk for foreign hackers having access to our private email system?
Yeah, we'd be...
what would happen?
I don't know if we'd be locked up, but we could look at what happened with Martha Stewart. She was thrown into a low security prison.
There you go. Another perfect example.
No, we'd lose our job.
We would lose our jobs.
And you go to jail or be fined so that you're bankrupt.
Yeah, and mess up our lives.
Yeah.
If something like that were to happen.
Yeah, she
got
away. There's a reason, right? Why would that happen?
You have to ask yourself, why would the FBI drop charges against a presidential candidate? She had top secret classified information on her Yahoo account or whatever personal private email.
Yeah, well, the Democratic Party or the government in general has a plan for Hillary, and this would have upended that plan. So you got to keep to the business, or keep to the plan, and make sure that the FBI shows that or sees it as not a big deal. Keep the masses at bay.
Or the Clinton administration threatened Comey and said, if you don't drop those damn charges, we're going to murder you and your family.
Yeah, and that's possible. I mean, he could have conveniently walked into a bus or something.
Or got in a car accident.
Somehow.
Or decided to end his life.
Just randomly.
Nothing to do with Hillary Clinton.
Are you saying that Hillary is not the godfather, but the godmother?
The godmother.
She's the godmother.
She's the godmother.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory.
I don't know. I just think it's random how serious charges can be dropped by the FBI, and then he just
I mean, it's just like in basketball, like Michael Jordan, if he fouls somebody, they're not going to call a foul. Or if he does some offensive charge, they're not going to call a foul on him.
I get it. But then you have no such thing as an objective system. No such thing as justice. You cannot universally apply this ideal.
Philosophically speaking, but philosophy, as Neil deGrasse has pointed out, is dead.
Well, his mom is dead.
But I think didn't you point out there's a few conspiracy theorems out there that there has been something like 40 plus deaths around Hillary and her associates, I guess.
Yeah, you got to be careful with Clinton. She's no joke.
But you also have to think, and I think there's something to this, is why wouldn't somebody like Orange Chicken try to exploit something like that? If it was in fact true, don't you think his people would try to dig in a little bit about that?
Well, the issue can go deeper because, again, Trump's a puppet as well. He's being controlled by the same people that control
then you got to
Clinton.
go deeper, right? Yeah. So Trump and the Godmother are part of this greater scheme?
Yeah, of course. They're puppets. So the question is, who's controlling the puppets?
But that's kind of a tangent.
It is a tangent.
Yeah. So she should, if she was a normal Joanna Schmo,
she'd be in prison behind bars for 10 years. Okay, so that happened in July, and then the 9/11, 28 pages that were hidden from the American people for over 13 years. Those 28 pages documented specific indications of foreign government support of the 9/11 hijackers. I think it was July 15th, 2016. So this year, the 28 pages revealed a variety of interconnections linking Saudi government officials, members of the Saudi royal family, suspected Saudi intelligence operatives, and 9/11 hijackers. Many people know, or maybe they don't know, that the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have been allies since World War II.
Well, I think they realize that they're maybe allies, but the typical Orange Chicken supporter, they think of Saudi Arabians as terrorists, or towel wearers, right? And they're going to think they're not American.
I don't care. They're not allies with America. Is that Saudi Arabians?
So that's them. That's not us. So they're not going to put the two together, right? And then you also have to point out the environment we live in right now was different than when 9/11 struck. There were these well plotted, strategized plans of mass murder for terrorism. Now they're just lone wolves. So you think of so that's not the mass media doesn't see that as a threat anymore. What they think of as threats right now is crazy individuals locked up, hermits in a room, brewing up schemes all on their own.
Didn't they say that Al Qaeda was just a group by themselves, lone wolves working together?
I think it was what came out in the media was that this is a huge plot.
Because I thought their agenda was they wanted to tell the public that Al Qaeda acted alone, that they operated in isolation.
It wasn't one person. Al Qaeda was this huge organization, right?
The way that they painted the story, the way that they painted it was this: they didn't have any outside sources. But clearly they lied because the documents reveal that Saudi Arabian officials, government, was linked with U.S. officials.
On top of that, bin Laden's been brought to justice. Why is it a problem anymore?
Well, the problem is that the U.S. government's interests was to protect the Saudi government, right? Because the socioeconomic political interest of the United States was tied in with the Saudi government. So that means for 15 years, 9/11 victims and their families have been denied by their own government crucial evidence that they needed in order to sue those responsible.
So I mean, I agree. They definitely covered it up by waiting so long to publicize these documents. They waited till the public just didn't care anymore.
Then they waited to announce this important information on the day of the Nice attacks in France. Is it Nice or Nice?
Nice spelled
attacks.
like nice, but
that's confusing. Why make it confusing? If you're going to say it like Nice and spell it like Nice, not like nice.
Well, it's French.
So they released this important information on the day of the so-called terrorist attack that occurred during Bastille Day.
Yeah, so that probably was well thought out, well planned attack. And then and then conveniently that the terrorist attack outshined the news of that that release of the report. But I don't even think that a terrorist attack would have been necessary, even if they had just released it anytime at any, just people don't care. People are busy eating up orange chicken.
The other problem is that, again, the mass media didn't bother to cover this story. They didn't think that it was an important story to cover. And if
it was brought up, but it was a footnote.
It was brought up, it was a footnote, and they downplayed the huge role that the Saudi government had behind funding and supporting the 9/11 terrorist attack. There's no real proof that they were involved.
Yeah.
Nor do they encourage people to read the actual documents, which I will post on our website for you to read and enjoy. So, and then there was, of course, the Democratic and Republican National Convention that took place last month. I was kind of bored. Trump's orange-faced chicken speech was long and boring, monotonous, same old. Clinton's speech.
I mean, he was kind of pouring this picture that the country is in dire straits, and
we're all gonna die.
You're all gonna die, and I'm the one rising from the dead that will save everybody.
Rising from the orange chicken sauce, morphing into a presidential candidate.
I guess it could be thought that folks that orange chicken supporters, they sort of are weak-minded, and they think that they will all be saved by some important figure out there. They're vulnerable.
So that's the Republicans' tactic: make America afraid again, and vote for someone like Trump who will take charge.
Well, I mean, the Republican establishment has not really come out and been very joyous about Trump, right? They've just they've had a hard time endorsing him. Yeah.
That reminds me of the clip that you sent me from NPR about Trump's religion. No one really knows what he stands for, although he says he's a Christian. But in the story, evangelicals were not necessarily supporting Trump. They were just anti-Hillary.
Yeah, for the most part.
A lot of people who support Trump, or a lot of people who seem to support Trump, are really just, hey, there's that woman, Hillary Clinton, we don't like her. I guess we're left with the lesser of two evils.
The lesser of two evils.
Which I don't like, because that's not true.
Well, I've already sent you a mathematical equation proving your vote is invalid.
Well, before we get into that, I just want our audience members to know that the lesser of two evils is a fallacy, because there are other candidates running for president. There's a third party candidate.
I wouldn't say voting for the candidate you believe in. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that it is, in fact, a wasted vote. What I will say is it won't really change anything, not for a long time. And I pointed out that voting for somebody like Bernie Sanders, that's not a wasted vote, because he was running in one of the mainstream parties, right? So he had a chance. And that's the system, right? Orange Chicken has pointed out that the system's rigged. So he's right.
It is rigged.
He's right about. It's one thing Orange Chicken is smart about, right?
Okay,
it's rigged.
It is rigged, but the rhetoric. So NPR, when they make the phrase, they say the phrase "the lesser of two evils," they are reinforcing this rigged system.
Because what's going to happen if you go and vote Green Party?
Well, all I want to say is there's no such thing as a lesser of two evils. There are other evils out there for you to choose from. There's the America Party, the American Independent Party. There's the American Freedom Party. There's a Constitution Party. There's a Party of Socialism, Liberation Movement. There's a Green Party. Gary Johnson is popular in the Libertarian Party. There are other evils to choose from, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, these people, ladies and gentlemen, these people do understand that they can vote for all these, but because the system is rigged, if they vote for one of those other parties, it's a waste. Hence the algebraic equation. Your vote, when compared to a larger number of votes, approaches the value 0. Okay, because it's inevitable that it'll either be Hillary or orange chicken. It's inevitable.
I get it.
Because of the rigged system.
But at the same time, if the media would cover other party members, make it more public,
but who's
available?
Again, here's the rigged system. Who's funding those media organizations? Those parties. Right?
You just got to get enough people out there and to let them do the research.
Bernie had a good chance. Bernie was really...
but Bernie wasn't really considered a Democratic to begin with.
Yeah, whatever. But still, he was close. He was as close as anybody.
So you're not really technically voting for someone who stands for a different party because he was running for the Democrats.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is was the closest, at least this election, that was the closest that anybody, that's part of the 99% would have gotten.
Well, if we can get Gary Johnson from the Libertarian Party to debate Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, then we're making progress.
Yeah, but it's too late. And you're talking about in a right now in a public general election debate.
I think they're trying to consider getting a debate going between Gary Johnson. If they get enough funding or supporters, that may happen.
Yeah, but he'll definitely outmaneuver Hillary and definitely orange chicken. But he still won't win.
I know, but the point, what I'm trying to make is there needs to be an awareness, collective conscious awareness that there are other parties out there. I think we're so accustomed to thinking that there's Republicans, Democrats, and that's it. There's the lesser two evils. It's all done for.
Okay, well, so good. Let's get Gary Johnson out in the national spotlight. But that would only happen if the system threw us a bone. If they want to sound like they actually care about the mass or the public. Let's let Gary Johnson have his time, 15 minutes of fame, and people will think the system is not rigged all of a sudden when it actually still is.
We are all just fucked.
Yeah, true.
Hillary Clinton's speech was underwhelming. During the Democratic National Convention. It was very boring, more boring than Trump's speech. She seemed to lack any kind of human compassion. In fact, I thought the whole time that maybe she was a robot or a simulation.
Yeah, but, Hillary's strength is not public speaking. Unfortunately. Now, did you see Obama's speech or
I saw his
Bernie's speech?
I saw Obama's speech, and he seemed like he was on some kind of recreational drug.
So this year, in this election, I'm asking you to join me to reject cynicism and reject fear, and to summon what is best in us to elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States.
His eyes were dilated, and he had a red mark on his neck. I think they injected steroids in his vocal cords. He seemed overly excited.
So, Alocrates, you try being president for a day or two, and you see if you don't need a couple of caffeine pills to stay awake and
to stimulate your brain.
the next speech you're giving. I think you might be tired.
I do that all the time for my classes.
There you go. So you get it. You understand.
Yeah, I have several cups of decaf, and I'm already on edge.
And think about Rubio, right?
Oh yeah, there you go. The pill and the sweating and the water. So, Obama, that was very strange. He seemed different than normal.
I don't know. I thought it was a good speech. I think, in my opinion, he's good at motivate. He's a good motivational speaker. You could kind of, just like you talked about Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence, right? Doesn't he kind of get under your skin, get your blood boiling, and get you going?
Yeah, we should have Hunter Pence for president.
Hey,
cussing left and right.
We got the motherfucking champion, boy!
So, but
Fuck yeah, America. We can do it.
So Obama in the politics realm, he's probably the strongest motivational speaker that any party or whatever faction of government has.
Yeah. I do think that Bernie Sanders' speech was the more genuine speech.
Yeah, Bernie, and that's his strength, right? He could speak to the common folk.
He was natural. He wasn't fake, phony.
But that's why all the unfake, unphony people want to vote for him or want him to be president. And that's all I'd like to say about that.
Okay. So we could talk about Trump's racism or his rapism. Which one?
Let's talk about
the rape. Because not that many people know that he's a rapist. Or alleged rapist, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think... again, I go back to if Hillary Clinton and her and the godmother knew about this, wouldn't she try to exploit that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Well, I guess if he's found guilty, then they would probably be all over it.
But for me, either way, don't you think that's a serious allegation? Whether it's he did it, he admits to raping people, you would think that it would be on the news. Just the mere fact that someone is allegedly claiming that he raped someone, you would think that would be on the mainstream media.
Oh, well, okay, right? Yeah. But what about if they're being paid not to say something?
That's why ASP Stuff Radio is here to enlighten people about Trump's rapism.
All our faithful Indonesian listeners,
are anxiously waiting for this episode. So an anonymous Jane Doe filed a federal lawsuit against Donald Trump in late June of this year, accusing him of raping her in 1994 when she was 13 years old. So I don't know how old Trump was at the time.
He was like 67.
No, he's 70 now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm guessing, 2016. It happened in 1994. 22 years ago, Trump was 48 or so, more or less.
He's still kind of getting to the old fart age.
Okay.
He's on his way there.
Now, the mainstream media ignored this filing. And according to the legal documents, this Jane Doe attended parties with Trump and his friend Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein is a registered sex offender known in the media as the, quote, billionaire pedophile. Doe, who was trying to become a model, says it was during these parties that Trump initiated sexual contact with her on several occasions, and on an occasion allegedly raped her on one occasion. So that was the most recent rape allegation against Donald Trump. Now, what's even more interesting is that there have been 2 prior sexual assault court claims that have been made against Orange Chicken Trump. So Ivana Trump, which was Donald's first wife, said under oath in 1989 that he raped her. And then there was another incident. A woman by the name of Jill Harth alleged that Trump violated her, quote, physical and mental integrity, end quote, when he touched her intimately without consent after her husband went into business with him, leaving her, quote, emotionally devastated and distraught, end quote. And here's a claim or testimonial claim from Jill Harth about the incident. She says, Trump forced me into a bedroom belonging to Ivanka, wherein Trump forcibly kissed, fondled, and restrained me from leaving, against my will and despite my protests. She then said that Trump bragged that he would be the best lover you ever had.
Yeah, so, that just confirms that Trump is a dirty old man, and, his lawyers or his people are paying the media more than the other people's money.
Well, who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing the raping.
Remember that clip when he was accusing Mexicans or illegal immigrants of being rapists?
Well, yeah, so he's actually an illegal immigrant.
He's doing the raping.
Oh, he's doing the raping.
Here's what he said about what he believes are studies, legitimate studies, about what he says rapists coming across the border and criminals. Here's his reaction.
Oh, well, if you look at the statistics of people coming, I didn't say about Mexico, I say the illegal immigrants. You look at the statistics on rape, on crime, on everything coming in illegally into this country, they're mind-boggling. If you go to Fusion, you will see a story about 80% of the women coming in. I mean, you have to take a look at these stories. And you know who owns Fusion? Univision. And it was in the Huffington Post. I said, let me get some of these articles because I've heard some horrible things. I deal a lot of talking with people on the Border Patrols. And
I want to get some clarification, though.
No, but Don, all you have to do is go to Fusion and pick up the stories on rape. And it's unbelievable when you look at what's going on. So all I'm doing is telling the truth.
I read the Washington Post, I read the Fusion, I read the Huffington Post, and that's about women being raped. It's not about criminals coming across the border or entering the country.
Well, somebody's doing the raping, Don. I mean, you know, somebody's doing the. You're saying it's women being raped. Well, who's doing the raping? Mm-hmm. Who's doing the raping? Yeah. I mean, how can you say such a thing?
Okay, so it's clear we know who's doing the raping. Okay.
So it's Donald Trump that's raping illegal immigrants?
No, just Donald Trump is a rapist. Oh. How can he accuse illegal immigrants from Mexico of being rapists when he himself is a rapist?
Donald Trump running for president is one big joke. Trump is in on it. Probably the people backing him are in on it. And it's just to see if he can win and just to laugh at America.
And this is one of the lines he said to the audience at the Republican National Convention.
I'm with you. I am your voice.
That's scary. Because if Trump is a racist and the majority of America are supporting Trump, then it follows that the majority of America is racist.
Or rapists.
Rapists.
Oh,
that
boy.
too. I mean, but so I want to... There's several clips. This clip is about 4 minutes, but this one touches upon a more substantial incident of Trump's rapism. This one, the one that occurred with his first wife, Ivana Trump, I think this holds some merit. So let's listen to this. This was from the YouTube channel, The Young Turks.
Daily Beast going back and looking at some court records of Donald Trump and his wife, Ivana Trump. That's, of course, his first wife. He's running in the party of family values. He's on to his third wife at this point. But now in this particular case, we have an extra issue because during those divorce proceedings with Ivana, there were some very serious charges. Now, before we get to that, let me give you the context here. Remember that Donald Trump first made huge headlines in this race by saying that the immigrants coming in from Mexico are rapists and criminals. When challenged on that, he said, I mean, somebody's doing it. Who's doing the raping? Let's find out. Okay. Well, they went back and, first of all, looked at the book, The Lost Tycoon, Many Lives of Donald J. Trump, written by Harry Hurt III. He was, among other things, a Newsweek reporter back then. And they've got some things from the court proceedings in that book that are a little devastating. So, Ivana Trump talked about a time that Donald Trump had done plastic surgery to get rid of a bald spot on his head. Already slightly embarrassing. It's about to get much, 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 much worse. And he apparently came in yelling at her, according to her initial account, saying, your doctor fucking ruined me, because he was in so much pain. Okay, so far that starts out funny. Like, oh no, I've been ruined trying to get rid of my baldness. It's about to get very unfunny, because then apparently what he did was he took out his aggression on his wife, his then wife, Ivana Trump. The book explains how he tore her clothes off, started ripping her hair out, saying, you see how it feels, you see how it feels. And she didn't make him get the surgery. He's the vain son of a bitch who went to get the surgery in the first place, just happened to be her plastic surgeon. Okay, now here's where it gets terrible. As Hurt explains, then he jams his penis inside her for the first time in more than 16 months. Ivana is terrified. It is a violent assault, according to versions she repeats to some of her closest confidants. Quote, he raped me. Now, keeps getting worse from here. She goes and locks herself in a closet. In fact, from the book again. Following the incident, Ivana ran upstairs, hid behind a locked door, and remained there crying for the rest of the night. And she said in the morning, after she'd been crying all night, she comes and Donald Trump doesn't seem to have very much sympathy for her at that point either. So that is a very disturbing tale, but it's from a long time ago. Now, since then, Ivana Trump has said a couple of different things. So let's be fair and give you the whole context, right? Because after the divorce proceedings were over, they settled. And part of that settlement was that Ivana Trump would not say anything bad about Donald Trump going forward. And obviously, there was some monetary exchange there, as happens in all divorce cases, okay? And so you take that knowledge and do what you want with it and make whatever assumptions you like, but you shouldn't assume too much about what happened behind closed doors. All we know is what they said then and now. So later on, Ivana Trump, after the divorce proceedings were over, said, during a deposition given by me in connection with my matrimonial case, I stated that my husband had raped me. On one occasion during 1989, Mr. Trump and I had marital relations in which he behaved very differently toward me than he had during our marriage. As a woman, I felt violated as the love and tenderness which he normally exhibited towards me was absent. I refer to this as a rape, but I do not want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense.
Well, who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing the raping.
So that just proves that he's a criminal too, right?
Yeah, he's a criminal rapist running for president.
Yeah.
And people want to elect him as president of the United States of America. It's worse than what Bill Clinton did, cheating on your wife.
Yeah. I don't know. But again, this is part of the whole plot to see how far Trump can go. How is that possible for somebody that crazy?
Well, like I said,
to get this close to being the most powerful,
because this important piece of information is being repressed. The mass media does not want to cover this story because if it was out there, well, you never know. Maybe this would garnish more supporters.
No, it wouldn't get him more supporters, but I think just along the same lines. When his first wife, they settled in court. She got paid, right?
Yeah, she got paid, and then all of a sudden, he didn't rape me. No, right. He just didn't love me anymore.
How do you think Bill Cosby, in his situation, how do you think that kept quiet for so many years?
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
They're also paid off too.
So they're paying a lot of money to repress this information, this insane allegation again. Well, this happened. This is no joke. But they're doing a lot to repress the most recent allegation against Trump. Raping a 13-year-old. So, I mean, let's listen to this story.
There's been a lawsuit filed in federal court in New York accusing Donald Trump of raping a 13-year-old girl in 1994 before threatening to allegedly harm her and her family if she talked. The woman's been identified in court documents as Jane Doe. She claims to have met Donald Trump at several parties in the Upper East Side thrown by billionaire investor Jeffrey Epstein during the 1990s. And the suit alleges that Trump and Epstein lured the then 13-year-old and several other young women or girls to the parties with promises of modeling careers and cash. And according to the allegations, Donald Trump tied her to a bed, exposed himself, presumably his penis, and raped her while ignoring her pleas to stop. Now, you might hear these allegations and say, David, you're just making stuff up. Well, no, I'm not making stuff up. I'm relaying to you what has been alleged in this federal filing. The suit states that Donald Trump responded to the pleas to stop by violently striking the plaintiff in the face with his open hand and screaming that he would do whatever he wanted. Now, there's another woman identified in these documents as Tiffany Doe. She supports the allegation, saying she also met Jeffrey Epstein at the Port Authority, where he in New York, where he hired her to seek out and recruit other young women for these parties. And she says, when asked, why did you remain silent until now? She said she still felt threatened about the possibility of coming out. Lewis, we also have from a Vice transcription that in 2010, Epstein pled the fifth when being asked by a lawyer representing one of his alleged victims about his relationship with Trump. Jeffrey Epstein was asked, "Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?" To which he answered, "Well, what do you mean by a personal relationship? Have you socialized with him?" To which Epstein answered, "Yes." "Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18? And Jeffrey Epstein answered, "Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights." Wow. Of course, pleading the 5th does not make you guilty of anything, although you would imagine that if one is specifically asked about whether they had socialized with a specific person, with women under age 18, if you hadn't, you'd probably want to get that out there, wouldn't you? I certainly would.
Well, who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing the raping.
So there might be truth to all of this, but, the problem is the way I think media works, and even any job or organization. If you, you've heard of whistleblowers?
Yeah.
So you can get in big trouble for reporting the wrong show or the wrong story, right?
So we could get in trouble.
No, because we don't work for any major media outlet. Now, if we worked for Fox or something and we were to report this out, we might get in trouble. But since we are pretty much independent, we're not professional journalists working for major corporations like that. Mm-hmm. So, we can talk about whatever we want. But those people in those major media outlets, they risk losing their job by reporting something that their management doesn't want to get out.
So that's more important than letting America elect a rapist, an alleged rapist.
So you put it that way. That's a good point. Is your job the way you make a living more important?
That apparently seems to be the case.
I mean, put yourself in the same situation. What do you think? What is more important to you? Your own livelihood or promoting the truth?
Promoting the truth. I'm a philosopher.
So you wouldn't mind losing your philosophy job?
No.
If your job depended on what story you reported, would you go ahead and go against the very company that employs you?
Yeah, of course. If I discovered, that's why I'm doing this podcast show, right?
It's a completely different thing. Speaking outside independently.
Either way, whether I was for a job organization, if I discovered something about the director of ASU, I would probably want to go out and blow the whistle.
Maybe a better reason why it's not being reported out.
I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I knew why the mainstream media wouldn't make this public. Because
maybe even TMZ. Why wouldn't something like
I don't know? Because the whole media is governed by those who rule the world. It's a dark world out there. People spend most of their lives watching the tube.
The tube.
Time for a fun game of fake news or real news.
Okay.
So how does this work? I'm going to play 2 clips, and you need to determine whether it's fake or real.
All right.
Okay.
Hopefully it's about cats.
I wish. Oh, no cats. No Skeeter, no 30-pound cat. Okay. All right, here's the first piece of news.
Every Wednesday here at Weekend Edition, we have an editorial meeting, and our staff pitches a bunch of ideas for the show. Some of the ideas make it, and some of them do not. This week, our senior editor, Jordana Hochman, found a story that did not quite survive the pitch meeting, but she's here nevertheless to share her dead pitch with us now. Hi, Jordana.
Hi, Rachel.
What's your pitch?
So I was going through my emails this week, and then I stopped when I found this subject line: dormant butt syndrome. It's a real thing.
Dormant butt syndrome. What does that mean?
So I talked to this guy
Chris Kolba. I'm a sports medicine physical therapist for the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
And so he admitted that it's a joking name that he's given to this condition, but this is what he had to say.
Basically, the gluteus maximus muscle isn't working as efficiently as it should. That's caused from prolonged sitting or even in athletes from repetitive activity.
Does that mean like when your bum falls asleep?
I think it's more that if your butt isn't strong enough, you're going to get back pain, knee pain, hip pain.
Is there anything we can do to prevent dormant butt syndrome?
If you're sitting at your desk a lot all day, make sure to get up, walk around, do some lunges and squats. And so imagine me doing that in the office.
Anything else surprising you learned through your very extensive research on this issue?
So I forwarded the pitch around to the staff, and then one of my colleagues shared an amazing email pitch she had once received, and the title there was, "Do You Look Mean and Angry? How to Reverse Bitchy Resting Face."
Whoa!
But we'll deal with that next time.
Okay, the next Ed Pitch. Weekend Edition Senior Editor Jordana Hochman, thank you so much.
Okay. Real or fake news?
That sounded like NPR Real News.
So how do you know it was an NPR source?
Because I recognize those Weekend Edition voices that I sometimes listen to. Yeah, maybe you could have gotten Paulito.
All right, so Paul, so you think it's real, but maybe NPR is doing a fake news story week.
NPR is not fake. I mean, they tell it like it is.
So you think there's an actual thing called dormant butt syndrome?
I believe so. You've probably experienced it yourself.
I'm experiencing it right now.
There you go. Have you ever been on a plane, stuck in a plane for a long time?
No. Yeah, 5 hours. I think
5 hours. Did your butt start to numb up?
It got a little numb.
There you go.
My bum got
at
numb.
risk. You were at risk.
My knees started to hurt because of my numb bum. Numb bum.
Yep.
So
numb bum.
This is a real story then? Final answer?
Yeah. Final answer.
That's correct. This is an actual real piece.
Yep.
Here's one more. Okay.
Could multiple stab wounds mean shorter lives? A new study on primates from the National Institute of Health says it's possible.
This is a huge step forward in understanding the short and long-term health effects of repeated stabbing.
In the $1.2 million study, a test group of 3,000 monkeys were stabbed between 7 and 9 times each.
We used a variety of sharp-edged objects to see if they had any different effects on the monkeys. In the end, we concluded that they did not.
Collins says the results were similar with baby monkeys, old monkeys, and pregnant monkeys.
Results were steady no matter where the monkeys were punctured, in the stomach, the neck, even the eye sockets.
The same was true for every species tested, from yellow-tailed woolly monkeys to squirrel monkeys, the small gray monkeys with tufts of downy fur framing their faces.
There was a control group that was not stabbed. This group was merely punched. It didn't matter whether we punched them 200-300 times. All they experienced was bruising. This tells us that the effects of stab wounds are more physical than psychological.
Collins and her team hope to secure funding for future studies on the effects of bludgeoning and boiling. And when we continue here tonight, the Catholic Church officially denounces spooning.
Fake or real?
It's a little hard to believe, that one. Even if you look at just the merits of the two, the butt, stale butt syndrome and eye socket stabbing.
Eye socket stabbing of monkeys.
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna get in trouble with PETA broadcasting this.
Multiple stab wounds may be harmful to monkeys, so they had to test it.
They weren't sure.
They weren't sure. No,
they weren't sure. Multiple. Now they have to do that before they do testing on humans.
Yeah, before we could stab humans, we got to stab monkeys.
Yeah, and punching, I guess, is not as severe.
It's not as severe.
They need a scientific experiment to figure that out.
Yeah, so you have to. It's a hypothesis. You know, we can't figure it out if punching can harm a monkey, so we got to actually punch a monkey.
They use the good old scientific method.
Yeah,
Krauss and DeGrasse. Yes. They're smiling. They're not frowning.
They support it. So you can imagine Krauss, Tyson, Kip Thorne all together punching monkeys left and right.
Just for the sake of science.
To further scientific knowledge for the benefit of mankind.
Yep.
But not monkeys. So fake or real?
Probably fake.
Yeah, that's correct. Ta-da!
But it sounded real. Those reporters sounded very genuine.
Hey, you just have
and
to...
that scientist lady sounded real enthusiastic about her experiment.
Yeah, you just have to... You can make anything sound real as long as you have that typical news broadcaster voice.
Could have passed as an NPR nasal.
Today, we're going to talk about how Donald Trump literally turned into an orange chicken.
That might be a believable scientific experiment.
I'm with you. I am your voice.
Scary.
Well, who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing the raping.
Is his argument logically sound that women that came across the borders illegally are
rapists,
therefore raped by illegal immigrants? Is that what his logic is?
So the study is, and he's reporting studies that...
Yeah, and he said he's just reporting the truth.
Yeah, so I'm reporting the truth. The legal immigrants that jump over our borders to the United States.
Leap. They leap.
They increase in rape. Rape has gone up. But women are being raped, and therefore...
But the guy was citing that it was actually a report about women
being raped.
But then does the article suggest who's doing the raping? Or is just Trump is just assuming?
He's assuming that the rapists are the illegal immigrants, the Mexicans. They're rapists.
I'll have to go back and listen to that. I didn't catch his logic.
Who's doing the raping, though? Well, someone has got to be doing the raping. It can't be Donald Trump. He's surely not a rapist.
Well, because he's legal, though, right?
He legally rapes. And
yes,
he legally rapes. And there was a defender of Trump and his rapist tendencies. The guy said that there's no such thing as raping your wife. Can you believe
that?
Someone that was trying to defend Trump against this allegation of his former wife pressing charges.
Oh, but there is.
Yeah, it's called marital rape.
Yeah.
But this douchebag is saying, there's no such thing as raping your wife. The logic is, if you have your wife, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, you could tell that to a lawyer.
Well, that's the show.
On that stabbing monkeys in the eye socket note.
Yeah.
Hopefully Hideko and Gita write soon.
Yeah, what's going on? We haven't heard from you guys. Write us immediately at aspstuffradio@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts, comments, or whatever.
All
right. So with all this eye socket monkey punching in my head, this is ASP Stuff Radio. We are all stuffed up.
Okay, lights, camera, action, ready and go! Lights, camera, action, ready and go!
Well, who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing the raping. Somebody's doing the raping.
I love China, not China all the time. I love China, not China all the time. I love China, not China all the time. I love
doing the raping. Well, who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing the raping.
China.
I've said that if you talk to one of my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
I love doing the raping.
Ready and go! Okay. Lights, camera, action, ready and go!
I love doing the raping.
I'm with you. I am your voice. I'm with you. I am your voice.
Somebody raping.
I love China, not China all the time. I love China, not China all the time. I love China, not China all the time.
I love doing the raping.
I love China, China all the time. I love China, China all the time. I love China, China all the time.
I love doing the raping. Somebody's doing the raping, Don. I mean, you know, somebody's doing the. Just think it's women being raped. Well, who's doing the raping? Who's